Welcome in to Week 3 RSL. We're going to be watching the Wingers versus Mind Goblins, first matchup for the day, only matchup for the day. I'm pretty excited for it. My name's Frog. I'm joined by Sub. Sub, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. How about yourself?
Doing pretty well. Excited for this match. I got a couple players I'm looking for to pop off in this match. Got a couple players on both sides, and some good performances we saw from Week 1 and Week 2, so I think this might be a close matchup, but we could see a team come out and pull out something spicy here, but we're already going to see some bans off the board. And what I see so far are two standard bans. Are you expecting to see just standard bans, or have you seen anything from Week 1, Week 2 that would make you think maybe a comfort pick is looking to be targeted out here?
I think there's just too many kind of top picks in the game right now to be able to afford banning a comfort pick away in the top three. So I just expect to see, although we do kind of see comfort pick ban, but I think it's going to leave a lot open.
Yeah, I completely agree. So many top picks, especially mages right now, as we see three of those banned away. Persephone, Scylla on the side of Mind Goblins, add Hell to that list. And Team at Artemis so far for the Wingers, and Raijin still on the board. Morgan Le Fay was on the board, banned out in that third ban. 5 mages on that top list. And we don't see the 6th mage, maybe in Raijin, being hovered. Instead, we see this Yamoja.
Beneath the waves.
Yeah, for sure. I still think even after the nerfs, Timo's just the best support. All she brings in a team fight, just way too much to play around. Ardio also left up. Odin also left up. So really strong kind of front lines are left open here.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, Cerberus left up as well, and we have seen a number of those Guardians move over to the Soul Lane in the recent weeks and have some extra strengths there, but the patch dropping earlier this week did have a major effect on that meta, made junglers especially a little bit more prevalent, so maybe we see one of those picks highlighted in the top 3 here, but none so far. Instead, we'll see that Ardio, as you mentioned, and an interesting hover here on the side of the Wingers. The Uller, not something I consider a top pick, but does have some flex potential.
Uller's actually feeling really good after the patch. He got the buff to his stance, giving him more attack speed and lifesteal. Also got the scaling buff on his 1, and just all the mace buffs help him out a lot. He builds really well with like Bumba's Hammer, Bumba's Spear, which is feeling good right now. So I do think he's a pretty strong pick. Definitely top 3 worthy.
Yeah, definitely got some help in this patch, and May still has the opportunity to go towards that mid lane or the ADC lane, and they'll try and keep that alive with another Guardian pick on the side of the Wingers. But as mentioned, 2 picks too hot to handle, Raijin and Cerberus over on the side of Mind Goblins. That's perhaps the next best mage for my money, and certainly the next best Guardian. I think that Mind Goblins have come out with a really hot top 3.
Yeah, for sure. Both these top 3s I think are really good. The Geb also coming out. Geb doing really good after his buffs as well. But I do think I'm favoring Mind Goblins top 3 a little bit more here, just personally.
Yeah, I think a lot of damage on both sides, but so far 2 tanks for either side and 1 carry for either side, and bans coming out. 2 mages once again on the side of Mind Goblins, Baba Yaga and Soul. A little bit of an interesting target focus there from those 2 picks, and then 2 assassins from the side of the Wingers, Fenrir and Owilish. I do actually really like that Owilish ban into that Uller, a little bit susceptible to that pick. But neither team really focusing out their jungler, and that surprises me a little bit. You mentioned about how the buffs were incredibly strong and they help Uller a lot, but I feel like there are a number of jungle picks who benefit really heavily off of some of these buffs, and they're being saved till the last picks.
Yeah, the nice thing about junglers, though, is there's not really, too many, just top junglers that you have to pick or ban. You can really pick a lot of things. The mace buffs help, majority of the junglers right now. So it doesn't really hurt to hold them because, either way, you're probably going to get something good.
Well, we do see the Discordia out from the Wingers. I think that pretty much sends Uller over into that dual lane, and he'll be facing off against the Chiron. Once again, another pick that I think benefits pretty heavily from these buffs we saw come out on Tuesday, and this is a god that I was really hoping we would see, the Tsukiyomi, yet another god that benefits from these picks. The Boomba's Hammer buff, I think, especially on this character, and the flat pen increases, the transcendence buffs. It feels like Tsukiyomi is a force right now.
Yeah, I definitely think Suki has come up in the meta a lot. Really strong for sure. Although I will say in competitive play, he's one of the harder assassins to play. You have to be really careful with his ult, as you can easily kill yourself and put yourself out of position if you're not careful. So definitely a bit higher execution, but definitely a really strong god in general.
No, absolutely. This entire composition from Mind Goblin seems to have a little bit of execution prowess onto it, a couple different skill shots on that composition. But we see the final god locked in from the wingers, and that's going to be the Thanatos, a god that I really wasn't expecting to see. I don't think of Thanatos when I think of Transcendence. I don't think of him when I think of full flat pen. I mean, maybe you can build him that way. You can absolutely have success with him that way, but he wasn't the pick I was expecting.
Yeah, I mean, I think Thana feels fine right now with a lot of the mace buffs and whatnot. He's definitely doing okay. Uh, the thing that kind of gets me a bit is I wouldn't have expected him into a comp like this, where these gods can really kind of get out of execute range easier. Any kind of healing, with Thanatos is just kind of rough to play around because they can get him out of that execute range. So Umoja healing can get them out of execute range. Serb has a lot of healing in his kit. I mean, even Chiron passive could be taken and get somebody out of execute range, which can kind of be a little bit of an annoyance factor, kind of hard to play through. But we'll see how it does.
Yeah, not to mention that Chiron ultimate preventing him from being executed for the time being as well. One thing I will say, now that we have all the comps on the board, all 5 gods for both teams, a lot of big ultimates, it feels like, to me, out of Mind Goblin specifically. Those Umoja walls have the potential to change a team fight, but I could say the same thing about a Cerberus ultimate or a well-placed Taiko Drums or a well-placed Tsukiyomi ultimate. I mean, it feels like all of these ultimates are do or die commit ultimates. You're starting the fight on these. I mean, do you think, I mentioned it was a little bit high execution earlier, and I think I stand by that. I'm wondering on your thoughts on that. Do they need to be able to put these ults together in the right order, or is it more of a comp where everybody has the potential to win the fight for them?
I mean, they do have to play around their ults well. But I mean, the big thing is that their team fight is just oppressive, compared to Winger's team here. They just have so many team fight abilities where Wingers, they're really kind of counting on like the Geb, Disco ults. Those are really the big ones. When you have 2 stance switchers, they're not really going to apply, that really big AOE kind of, team fight presence as much as, some of these picks on the Mind Goblins will.
Absolutely, too. Missing out on 2 of those large ultimates, but one getting a buff on the side of Geb. So good picks for either side. Now that we have everything on the board, tell me once, who are you favoring?
I think if Mind Goblins just play it well, get to the team fight stage, I think I have to favor them.
All right, well, we'll see who can execute. We'll jump right into game number 1 and watch it go down. The first thing I'm going to be looking at is these builds right off the bat. Where are the starts? Where are the items going? I think we see pretty much what we expected out of both sides. I'm a little bit interested to see Thanatos still going that Mannequin Scepter as opposed to the buffed Boomba's Dagger, but another thing that pops out to me immediately is neither solo laner choosing to go Rangda's Mask after the nerf.
Yeah, I still think that Vamp Shroud is just the way to go. I mean, Sustain, is kind of just... it's just really strong in solo lane, for sure. But I also see this med on Arya, which I think is really quite odd. In my personal opinion, I still think med just doesn't really have a place in competitive. It just really struggles for sure. So that's definitely interesting. And Serb also is going to benefit from that meditation if he's nearby when it's used, because of his passive. So definitely an interesting pickup.
We have seen med once or twice thrown out in the SPL, and I recall it being used not recently, but a while back. And hold that thought, they're going to go in, try and get some poke onto Seraph here. Gets very low, forced into that shield for the second ability, but will survive that early skirmish. But on the meditation pickup, something that I have seen a little bit is trying to pick up this meditation to counter the out-of-combat healing for the other team. I've seen it into a Hell specifically, where people would back up and try and commit on, or try and heal using the Hell, but then they have this meditation instead. And while that was going on, we have this first blood over here in the dual lane staying a little bit too long was Seraph.
Yeah, I mean, the Geb was just too far up, especially into the pressure that, this opposing dual lane brings. Umoja's still very high pressure, so definitely have to be careful about that.
Dummy Slick trying to get some damage off into the enemy jungle. Pop and Mike was a little bit low there, and Uncle Fable not sure if he should be stepping up without his support, but Geb now on the way back. Raijin dashing in, trying to get the damage onto the Discordia, takes him down to half HP, a little bit lower as well. Looks like Spooky Mars already getting the better of this engagement, and I think that's fitting. I mean, I feel like Raijin definitely has the edge here.
Oh yeah, I mean, with Raijin mid lane, you can really just do whatever you want for the most part. He has really high pressure, can do really well. Of course, him dashing in like this, he can be punished just as easily then.
Absolutely. Thanatos not choosing in the mid lane, though, instead trying to go over towards this solo lane, but he'll take more damage for it than he expected. Cerberus, 2 minutes into the game already, putting out a ton of that damage with that first ability. And Thanatos, I'm not sure that was the best rotation target for him.
Yeah, definitely not. I mean, these Guardians are really just gonna kind of sit over here, do whatever they want. This matchup really just goes even for the most part. Our audio will have, a little bit of an edge in the early game, but here pretty soon, it's just gonna be a stalemate.
Well, we see anything but a stalemate over in this duel lane. We've seen consistent poke be thrown out, especially from the side of Mind Goblins. Killjoy really making use of this Chiron poke, and Rosie consistently trying to grab members with that Riptide. And now that we're talking about the duel lane, I'm noticing the difference in these Hunter builds off the bat. Ullr trying to take advantage of those buffs, starting out with the Bluestone, but Chiron, who I might call more likely to start out with the Bluestone, chooses to go into the Leather Cowl instead.
I think either of them can really go with the Bluestone, as we do see Rogue fall in the audio there. Unfortunate for him.
Yeah, unfortunate gank. Looks like Dummy Slick was a little bit more successful than his counterpart coming over to this solo lane, but still gives you a chance to talk about the dual lane, I think, starting in the builds.
I definitely think either could go Bluestone, but Ullr definitely really likes to go Bluestone. He has 4 abilities that proc it really well. Definitely wants a bit of mana sustain that Bluestone gives. I do believe it gives a bit more than Kel. So, yeah, I mean, either of them could really go it, but I definitely expect Ullr to go it for sure.
Well, he did get the slight attack speed buff in that ultimate ability, maybe being made up for since he did not go the cowl, but we continue to see pressure across the map. 2 kills to 0 now for Mind Goblins, giving a comfortable 1,000 gold lead this early in the game, but the Riptide will be popped, or excuse me, Rivers of Rebuke, but a little bit off the mark. Uncle Fable able to slip out of the end there, and an ultimate exposed for nothing, but doesn't really cost anything either. Outside of these 2 early skirmishes, only one being a gank, it feels like we've had a really slow game thus far, and Mind Goblins may be playing to your point and trying to more weight towards that teamfight stage.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely can take the aggression if they want to, but they're definitely not happy if they don't, because, they get to the teamfight stage, they will be doing alright. But we might see this Thana look for a gank on the left side here. I would definitely expect it with Killjoy being kind of low on mana. Might be a pretty good time for it.
Papa Nike does have the ultimate, maybe looking for an opening here, but both junglers on this side of the map. Killjoy, unaware at the moment, gets the beads burned, but also gets stunned out. Papa Nike now in more trouble than he bargained for, but he'll get the kill. Thanatos onto the enemy, will get that kill, but it's unfortunate. Dummy Slick trying to finish it off onto the Ullr, and he'll get traded. Great rotation from Spooky Mars will net him a double kill, looking for the triple as well, but Dummy Slick will take it up 3-for-1 in favor of Mind Goblins.
Yeah, I mean, it really comes down to Spooky made the rotation, and Cynic did not. Even though the Raijin will have, more of a prowess this early, and especially, just having that ult in a gank like that, definitely going to favor the Raijin. But either, Cynic calls it out and says, hey, he's rotating, my Goblins, or excuse me, we just have to respect it and back off, or they just don't go for it at all, because that presence is just a lot, and we see what it does.
Well, that's the second gank attempt from Papa Nike. It was technically successful over there in the duel lane, but I think he's got to be getting more out of these rotations if he wants to be successful in this game, especially as Thanatos. I mean, I would definitely call this matchup in the jungle more early game favored towards this Thanatos, but he hasn't been able to have the impact on the map that this Tsukiyomi has been able to have.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the gank there onto the duel lane was slightly forced. He was kind of waiting, trying to be patient, looking for the correct plays. Ooh! Unfortunately, Killjoy was not able to hit all 3 of the Chiron snipes.
Almost securing that solo kill there, but Geb actually coming in on the back end. Uncle Fable is aware, trying to push up, and they're going to try and trap him right here. Killjoy still high health, looking to kill Uncle Fable. He jumped right into him, still has the abilities. Wow, the solo kill in a 1v2. Killjoy stuck between a rock and a hard place, makes the best of it, and Seraph not able to confirm on that ultimate. Fantastic pickup from Killjoy.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Killjoy already got that little lead off of that gank earlier on and has the trans stacks as well. Oh, man. I don't see him living this year.
Yeah, a little bit of trouble. Thanatos forced up into the air, trying to go for a second kill, but will dunk down right into the Taiko drums. Take some more damage. Spooky Mars avoids that scythe, but will take more damage, trying to finish it off with Cynic, and Saris going to chase this one as well, waiting for his cooldowns. Not enough to finish it off, though. They will get that shutdown kill on to Dummy Slick, though, and that's got to be a good confidence booster for Pop and Nike.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't think Dummy Slick really respected the damage there, and was definitely pushed up a bit too far as a god like Tsukiyomi. You know, you don't really have a way out, you get punished. Oh, Thana under duress.
Oh, he turns it around. Scythe into Mars will take down that kill. However, Yuri-tastic over here trying to finish off Cynic. Won't get him just a bare kill away, but it's actually Killjoy on the rotation. Finish off Pop and Nike. He was staking around a little bit too long. Able to turn one around, but not able to save his own life.
Yeah, definitely a good play there by Pop and Nike. You know, under all that pressure, was able to find a good scythe. But, you know, Killjoy does return it, which does open up spot to go this gold series.
Yeah, half HP already ticking down. It doesn't look like anybody from the wingers is going to be in range, except for maybe Uncle Fable. I'm not sure if he has vision on this. Will not hit the hail of arrows, and unfortunately for him, Mind Goblins will take down the first Gold Fury, extend their gold lead on about 2,000.
Yeah, and you know, this is a pretty decent gold lead for how early in we are, especially as a teamfight team that's wanting to get to this late game stage. Definitely a really good look for Mind Goblins.
Uncle Fable under some pressure here. Dummy Slick trying to get a gank off, but good self-peel from Fable there, and Seraph was there just in case, so pressure not going to lead to anything over in this duel lane, but it's still Mind Goblins on the front foot, 2,000 gold lead as we mentioned. Mari's in a little bit of trouble here. Both missed abilities, though, from the jungler and the mid laner, and they'll just trade some health. And interestingly enough, after all of these fights, despite the gold lead, we see the XP lead in the mid lane towards this Discordia. Actually, do see a gank here. Pop and Nike securing that one. Tons of damage in an instant. He knows his limits, but he might have met them here. In some trouble towards the speed buff, and he'll get taken out in return. But Cynic keeps this level lead, and I think that might be the goal to funnel their mid laner right now.
Yeah, and I mean, they knew that the beads were down there for the Raijin, so they didn't even need the disco. It should just be guaranteed things. But diving the tower there, it does definitely mean that he is going to trade his life there. For sure.
Does put him a little bit down, but he's now 3 deaths and 3 kills, matching the kills for Dummy Slick, and is going to lose a little bit of his own farm for that death he suffered in the form of his back camps right there. Dummy Slick taking some good advantage of that. We see things slow down a little bit here. We haven't talked about this solo lane a ton, and I really think you were right earlier when you mentioned that these Guardians are just going to slug it out. We're not going to see huge solo kills, and I think that's essentially what we've seen. I'm interested in your thoughts about these two Guardians. I would call them the top 2 Guardians in the solo lane right now, bar none, right? I mean, they're right there at the top of the list. Which one do you think has more of an advantage when we go to these team fights, maybe as we start to transition towards the Gold Fury? But hold that thought. Killjoy trying to finish this one off, hits one snipe, misses the other 2, doesn't have the cooldown to finish that one off. So we'll return to the question, I guess, as they're still slugging it out over in that solo lane. But as we transition here, who do you think has the advantage?
Cerberus definitely does in the team fights, as he does pull the Ardio out of the tower, but Ardio should just be just fine. Yeah, Cerb definitely has the better team fight presence, for sure. Ardio does have, you know, that really good pressure onto the back line, but as far as just sheer team fight, it definitely goes to the Cerb. He does get ganked here, but I feel like he's not going to be that easy to kill.
4 members coming over. We'll see if we can secure that, and looks like we will. Thanatos missing the ult, but it shouldn't matter as Cynic finishes that one off.
Yeah, I mean, if it's a 4-man rotation, listen, nobody's getting out of that one. Definitely rough for the Cerb there. I'm sure he had to have some calls that they were rotating, and I do see 2 Mind Goblin wards up on the, you know, top right side there. So I think he knew they were coming, but was still overstayed a little bit.
be a little bit over aggressive for his own good, but a little bit of poke pushed off in this mid lane. Mars and Cynic still battling it out over here as Raijin's had one really good gank. He's had one really good impact over in the dual lane, but outside of that, hasn't really made an impact on these rotations, and I'm looking for him to get involved, I think, a little bit more, especially as this Oni Fury is close to respawning at about a minute 30 seconds, where we're likely going to see the fight centered around there. Last time it was Mind Goblins taking that objective. What do you think the keys are to the wingers maybe bouncing back here and taking this objective for themselves?
I mean, you're going to have to cut the deficits in one of these lanes and try and figure it out. You know, we see a lead onto Killjoy. We see a lead onto, you know, in the jungle is Dummy Slick. And, you know, you're going to have to figure out a way to kind of cut that deficit or get the gold back. And one of the ways you can do that is either through ganks or objectives. Is, you know, we see Mind Goblins actually taking the objectives. So they're making their lead a bit bigger.
And no wards on this Pyromancer for the wingers, so they'll get that objective for free. And one can only hope that isn't how the Gold Fury goes for the side of the wingers. Hopefully they'll put up more of a fight on that one. One thing I did notice as we were panning over to the left side earlier is Uncle Fable got the better of Killjoy in one of those earlier fights. Killjoy was at a very low health bar trying to run away from that one. And despite the level lead, despite the level deficit, Uller seems like he's doing pretty well in this lane, especially to be fighting for himself.
Yeah, well, Uller just has really high lane pressure, but his big thing is poke as well. With a lot of the ADC builds not favoring lifesteal right now, Uller poke is a lot more effective you know, than it used to be. So, you know, without an Aussie or, you know, Dev's Gauntlets, things like that really being built too much, he's definitely very potent in the duo.
Oh, we see this Oni Fury started up here and finished here by the Mind Goblins. I was hoping that wouldn't be the case, but it might be even more. Dummy Slick using that ultimate onto Uncle Fable, trying to finish it off. Good beads, good juke shoes from Uncle Fable. Not enough at the end of the day, though. Will fall to Dummy Slick. I'm surprised he stepped up that far and yet didn't put any pressure on the Gold Fury.
Yeah, I mean, we just need more members of wingers there. They realistically just gave that gold up for free as, ooh, big snipe, you know, snipe stun there out of the Serb. Should be able to pick this up with already not having any mana.
No mana on Rogue, and he may fall, as you mentioned, but Yuri-tastic waiting on that stun cooldown once again, not able to get it up in time. Looks like Rogue will survive for the time being, but I can't say the same for Poppin' Nike, falling once again. Red Rosie picking that one up. And the jungler will fall for the side of the wingers, and even more pressure. Cynic now under some pressure. Tycho Drums being popped. Shield comes out. That's good for one defensive hit, but two coming out. Three coming out. The Aegis is good to protect him for now, but Killjoy with the snipe will finish that one off, and they want some more damage on Seraph. The Riptide not good enough, though. 2 kills for the side of Mind Goblins.
Yeah, I mean, you know, kind of unfortunate there that the wingers were just a bit out of position and really do get punished for it. And, you know, they lose the mid tower there as well. Something that really has me worried, though, that I've been put an eye on is this Ardio build. This Ardio build is, you know, kind of something we might see on a Yorm, something along those lines, but it really just takes away from the spirit of what Ardio wants to do and what makes Ardio strong right now. We see little to no mana sustain in this build, which every time we've gone over to the solo lane, we just see no mana in the Ardio's pool. Also, just no cooldown here at all either. So, you know, Ardio's actually been getting getting kind of pressured out by Serb a little bit there, and that's just going to be even worse in the team fights. This is a very low defense build, low cooldown, low mana. You know, just doesn't have the stats that I think an Ardio wants.
Yeah, I can't help but agree. Not a ton of synergy there with the kit, but I mean, it's like trying to finish off Uncle Fable here. Will get the beads forced out of himself, but Uncle Fable without those beads will end up falling. That's the second time in recent memory Dummy Slick has gotten the better of Mr. Fable, and he will continue to do so, maybe with this level lead, continuing on his Tier 5, 1, and 3 for him, and going into that double pen that we talked about, and then early on into an Erendite for the Tsukiyomi. Not an item that I've been seeing a ton, but did get a small buff in that patch recently. What are your thoughts on this pickup?
I think it's an alright item, but you definitely build it on gods that do very well with the passive. You know, Suki, after his ult, it helps him out a lot, as we do see the Kev just out of position here, unfortunately.
Yeah, Seraph not with the rest of his team. Will get a 3-man ultimate, but nobody to follow up on it except maybe Pop and Nike now in the air. Dummy Slick under pressure. Good Aegis from him will protect him for the time being, but won't make him immune to the Scythe. 4-man Cerberus ult brings in some members, and Seraph may be the one in trouble right now, but so far it's just a 1-for-1. Jungler for support. Yuri wants to continue, but won't be able to, and that's a good trade for wingers.
Yeah, there's definitely a good trade support for the jungler there. You know, Seraph was just kind of out of position at first, but was a lot tankier than I would have expected, and I think a lot tankier than my Goblins expected. They weren't able to kill him quite quick enough, and it just kind of ended up turning into a bait. A really good Aegis there from Spooky to avoid the axe there from the Thanatos.
Papa Nike will force that relic, but now he may be under some pressure himself. Yuri trying to get involved in these fights, and Killjoy once again on the losing end of a fight over here in the dual lane, even despite the 3-level lead from him. But it's yet another engagement in the jungle. Some scrappy engagements we've seen here, I think, from both teams.
Yep, and you know, it has just kind of favored Mind Goblins overall, as we do see a 6k gold lead. And coming into team fights, I really think that it won't be quite as scrappy in these team fights, and it'll just really be a cut and dry, or at least that's what I would expect, just you know, based off the drafts alone.
I think one thing we talked about in the pick and ban phase that we can revisit here is this Tsukiyomi ult. You mentioned that it was a very difficult ult to use in terms of being careful that you don't put yourself in the position to insta-die in the backline type of thing. And while Yuri is absolutely making use of this Cerberus to full force and finding himself in the backline often, which I can definitely appreciate on the side of the Cerberus, I have seen Dummy Slick go in a little bit alone in some of these engagements, maybe getting some solo ganks off. And while he's had success there, I think if he's not careful, he could find himself getting picked in some of these team fights.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the way that we see a lot of high-level Tsukiyomis, but I'll get back to that, as you might see a big gank here on the RDO.
Yeah, Rogue surrounded by 3 players right now, and Raijin on the way. Rivers of Ryuk popped out. Riptide off the mark, though, and running towards her teammates, so it will now be a 3v3 even. Mars not here in time to help finish off that kill, and it's 1 ult burned for about half of Rogue's HP. Still calling that a win for the wingers, especially if Yuri backs here. Might be a power play. 5 members on the side of the map for the wingers.
Yeah, this definitely could turn into a fire dance, but back to the point about the Suki, a lot of ways that the high kind of end players, SPL players, you know, very strong Tsukiyomis play is that they will actually kind of hold their ult until the end of the team fight if they can help it. Or at least just hold it until a lot of either dashes are burned out, actives are burned out, anything like that, so that your ult does have more of a you know, success chance on getting that kill on whoever you need. That way, whenever you go in, they don't have all the resources they need to kill you.
Oh, Red Rosie picks this one up. Rogue's in the area, knows that it's happening, and it's not going down too fast, 25% or so, but members are in the area. Seraph and Rogue now getting the fight started. Geb almost gets the ultimate off, but forced to die right before that Killjoy picking up that one. And it'll be Red Rosie now under a little bit of trouble, but Cynic and Rogue pushed up far too far. Killjoy will secure that double kill, but it'll be Red Rosie now under a little bit of trouble. Thanatos trying to dive into the backline, but might not be able to hung it against these 2 tanks, and it'll be a triple kill for Killjoy trying to help his team finish off Rogue, but it'll be Dummy Slick for that one. 4 members down for the side of the wingers, and that should secure the Fire Giant.
Yeah, I mean, this was kind of what I'd expect with the lead in Mind Goblin's favor. You know, they really were going to have that pressure, but not only with the lead, also with their draft pressure and team fight very high. So Weir does come in and look to get a kill here. I don't think he will be able to.
Tries to get the axe onto Rosie, and taken very low there is the Emoja, but not finished off quite yet. So it'll be 5 members with Fire Giant for the side of Mind Goblins, and the wingers still on their spawn timers for many of them. They have all their tier 2 towers and their phoenixes, but quite the gold deficit they're now at, as well as the XP deficit across the board. 9,000 in gold, 11,000, close to 12 in experience. And I think you predicted that as soon as we started the 5-on-5 team fights. Mind Goblins playing that clean, able to just run over the wingers.
Yeah, I mean, with a lead on top of just a very good team fight draft, that is, you know, kind of the effect of it. And with this Fire Giant, expect them to go for the Gold Fury, and then just look for a tower sweep. So we'll probably see this gold lead balloon out even more in favor of Mind Goblins if we do play this Fire Giant. kind of push correctly.
Well, I'm not sure that the Wingers will be able to defend their tier 2s. You might be right. The Mayan Goblins just able to stack up a ton of gold here if they play this Fire Giant Discipline, but that gives us a little bit of a lull to take a look at the builds, and I'll come over to you. Do you see anything on the side of either team that really pops out to you? You want to talk about it? I agree with you wholeheartedly on the Artio build, and she continues to go in that direction, unfortunately, but
yeah,
I do see that. Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, the Artio build definitely not going in this direction. I would expect to see still very low defense. One thing that Wingers could definitely look at is we still don't see any percent penetration out of Spooky Mars, and I must say I'm not really a fan of the builds that just don't really have too much percent pen in them that we're seeing nowadays. As ooh, you see the Serval out onto the Uller, which burns the beads.
Frenzy gets popped as well, so 2 ultimates down as far, 1 on each team, but Uncle Fable in way more trouble than he bargained for, and that Phoenix as well. Papa Nike into the air, trying to go down maybe on Yuri, as he's the only one left in, but a well-timed jump will save him from that fate. And a 1v1, excuse me, over in this solo lane. Rogue trying to turn this one around, does have some healing in that kit to protect him, but no cooldowns for him as he's still waiting for them to come up, those healing ones, and Dummy Slick may be forced to use the ultimate here. He already has, so he may find the enemy team waiting for some cooldowns. Rogue not able to get the stun off, and Dummy Slick will take that 1v1.
Yeah, definitely a little bit back and forth there. Definitely, kind of interesting ability usage there out of both of them. However, this does just favor Mind Goblins now that they do have the pick. But oh, we do see the Sanchez kind of going on a hunt there for the Suki.
Yeah, looking for it. Does not hit the scythe. Does hit the silence though. But oh my gosh, turning this around is Dummy Slick. So much damage coming out of his kit. And that scythe does hit this time, but he might be on the low side of the damage. Is Dummy Slick 2 levels ahead and a full item ahead, or a half an item ahead, it looks like right now. As Cynic also falls to Yuri-tastic, just being put in the dirt right now is the Wingers solo jungle combined for 2 kills.
Yeah, I mean, for me, Wingers kind of have me scratching my head right now. I think that the last minute or two of Smite game for them has just not really looked, too great for them. I don't think they're really putting much thought into it. The Thana does go to try and clean up the kill onto Dummy Slick there, but he has to realize that not only is he behind 2 levels, he's behind a whole lot of gold just based off of, the lead that Mind Goblins has, so he ends up losing that 1v1. Cynic just kind of dies on his own to the serve there. If you want to get a good defense and look to bounce back into the game, these aren't the kind of plays you have to be making. You have to be looking for ways back into this game through picks, through grouping up, looking for good defenses, burning relics, any kinds of those things.
Well, we do see Mind Goblins, along with their couple of kills, secure the objectives. Gold Fury was taken down from them, as well as all 3 Tier 2 towers, and that left Phoenix also taken down. That's commonly referred to as the best one to get, farthest away from the Fire Giant, so will benefit them there during this next Fire Giant dance. It won't be the enhanced Fire Giant quite yet, as we're not at that stage in the game yet, but that maybe speaks to the severity of the lead that Mind Goblins have. We are only 25 minutes in, and this lead might be more of a place for a 35-minute team. I mean, 15,000 gold at this point in the game does not bode well for the side of the Wingers, so I'm interested to see if they step up to try and fight this Fire Giant, but it looks like they will choose not to.
Yeah, it's definitely the play. Really the only time you're looking to defend a Fire Giant from this kind of deficit is if it's an EFG, because that can really turn the game. But, I mean, this is such a large deficit that I would say it's one of those that's leaves very little room, a very small window for Wingers to be able to come back from. This lead is just oppressive, Mind Goblins, they have a lot of room for error, and they can still probably win the fight just based off the lead alone.
Well, Yuri gets almost a solo kill up there onto Papa Nike. Dummy Slick may have helped out a little bit, but looks like he did step up too far, and they want to maybe defend this, but they're on the same page now. They all called a backup, and Seraph running for his life at that point. And I think they do all get out unscathed except for Papa Nike, but he's going to be down now for this Phoenix Siege.
Yeah, I mean, definitely a misplay in my eyes. I think you just totally give that up, because now when you have your jungler down, you're not going to be in a 5v5. You're in a 4v5 into a team that has a better team fight, that has, one of the largest gold leads ever, right? And you're just there's just no way to defend it now. I mean, this should just be an easy either 2 Phoenixes or game end for Mind Goblins if they play it right.
Well, Yuri doesn't just want the Phoenix, he wants the kills as well, trying to get some damage on a Cynic, and he'll be successful, but Seraph will be unsuccessful in doing the same thing, taken out by Killjoy, and it looks like Yuri got his success onto the mid laner. Rogue falls as well. 3 kills, and it might be a 4th onto Uncle Fable. 4 down for the side of the Wingers. Papa Nike gonna give his life away as well, trying to trade one back, but the Titan will fall first. First game goes to the Mind Goblins.
Yep, for sure. I mean, just a really oppressive lead there established by Mind Goblins, and they're able to push it into the objectives, into the team fights where their comp really shines in the team fights there. So, I think I want to see something that can maybe mitigate that pressure a little bit, or maybe on some more comfort picks in the next game there for the opposing team for sure.
I think definitely we saw some things from both teams that we can see capitalized on during the pick and ban phase in game number 2. I think that draft from Mind Goblins especially just came together, really performed well. All the members of that team putting on a show, especially the solo and jungle. And to think that they were able to get this last pick, Tsukiyomi, who maybe was the MVP for them, it feels like maybe the Wingers have to reevaluate their picks and bans.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind the Tsukiyomi going through, but I think you need something that can really match what Tsukiyomi brings, kind of just on the whole board of junglers, right? You might look for something with a bigger team fight, or if you are looking for something like a Thanatos, who just wants to punish that early, you have to be able to do that. You have to punish the early. You have to get that Thana off to a lead, which is what he looks for, and, make that work.
Well, we'll see if Wingers can bounce back for game number 2. We're going to throw it to a quick break. Stick around. Welcome back, Smite fans, to the Wingers versus Mind Goblins Week 3 RSL. Game 1 looked pretty clinical from Mind Goblins, putting on a show, especially from their solo and jungle, Yuri-tastic and Dummy Slick combining for 40,000 damage in 25 minutes. So hopefully we'll see them put on a show in game number 2 as well. But Wingers are hoping for the opposite of that, and they've started out by banning the same thing, and we'll see if they change up their picks and bans here in game number 2 to address what went on in game number 1. We didn't get a chance to talk about that before coming in, and I'm wondering if you have any thoughts on what they should change up, as already they move towards the RDO.
Yeah, I think that they should just do whatever they think they can do best to kind of mitigate the ability for Mind Goblins to establish a lead like that. If they just want to play higher pressure picks, look to go for the pressure themselves. If they want to play really safe picks, if they want to play comfort picks, anything along those lines to help them be able to mitigate something, as big as that lead was.
Well, instead of banning their 2 mages from last time, Tiamat and Morgan Le Fay, they choose to go for those Guardians this time and take one of those mages for themselves. Tiamat locked in for the first pick for the Wingers, and that's already a big switch up to this draft.
Yeah, I'm surprised to see the Tiamat get let through here. Tiamat's super strong, especially a lot stronger than Scylla, so I was surprised to see Mind Goblin still win that Scylla over the Tiamat. But they do go for the Raijin again, which I do think Spooky's comfortable on. So.
Yeah, Spooky had a good game on that in game number 1, and Rosie reprising this Yamoja as well. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw them go for the exact same draft, frankly, if they had the opportunity to, but unfortunately they won't be able to go back to that Cerberus as it was banned away, but Killjoy was a force on that Chiron, and that pick is still available, but we'll see Wingers go first. Sobek on the board, likely for their support role, though could go either way. And Rama being looked at here, maybe not as happy with the Uller and his buffs and going towards a more traditional hunter.
Yeah, definitely a big fan of the Rama. I do think he's still top 3 EDC, for sure, in my opinion. Definitely interesting to see the Sobek come out, unless this is a comfort pick. I'm not too sure why you'd want to pick it. I think that there's just better supports in general, and if you are looking to throw him in solo, I think there was better solo laners up, such as like the Kabrak and things like that. So yeah, definitely a bit interesting. But you see the Odin out of Mind Goblins, and I mean they just have 3, just absolute slammer picks right now, top of the meta.
Yeah, I was a little bit surprised last game to see Odin go without being picked or banned, but now he finally gets picked up and into 3 gods, only one of which actually, Tiamat having the leap to escape the cage, and that leap is a critical ability for her, so not wanting to use it as an escape tool if she can avoid it in many scenarios. But one thing I will say about this Sobek that sort of compounds on your feelings about it is I'm not a huge fan of the follow up that it has immediately. I mean, typically off of a Sobek pluck, I'm looking for some instant damage, something like a Scylla Crush or maybe a Poseidon one. You know,
Yeah.
I'm coming up blank on mage abilities right now for
Yeah.
some reason, but something that is a little bit more solid in follow up maybe than this Tiamat, which has to charge its primary damage ability.
Yeah, Tiamat's okay at it, but definitely not something you're really looking for. Whenever I get a Tiamat on my team, I'm really looking for something that can just either get us that team fight stage or just really help us in team fights, let the Tiamat do what she wants to do. Tiamat kind of likes when team fights last a little bit longer, or you can kind of have like a brawly style, comp
A
because she wants to get
blizzard
off
is
as many
upon
abilities as
us.
she can and be as annoying as she can. So I'd like them to kind of reinforce that instead of go along the lines of the Sobek.
Well, you could see the surprise on my face here. A Scotty gets picked up for Mind Goblins. Killjoy finding his comfort in this pick. I know he's raved about this pick to me quite a few times, and so I'm a little bit excited. I'm really excited, in fact, to see him pick this one up, but I'm not sure on paper it's the best matchup into this Rama. Rama, in particular, is able to shred through the HP bar of Calder on Scotty using those astral arrows.
Yeah, definitely not the best matchup. I mean, I don't mind going for a pick like Scotty, especially with the mace buff. She's feeling pretty good. If you ever were going to play her right now is a time that you could get away with her. But just into the comp, it could definitely be rough if wingers go to punish that. She definitely struggles into Sobek. If she gets plucked, she's just dead. No CC immunity for the nausea. Struggles into the Rama. So definitely gonna have to play fairly careful around that.
Well, as the comps finish out here, I think we can see what direction both teams are going with their style of team fight. Wingers finish out with a Naja and Kakulin. The first thing that throws out to me is Kakulin, obviously, towards that solo lane, Sobek in the support, but that brings a huge amount of CC towards that mid 3v3 in the form of that Charge Prey and the Neja, Sash, and Ultimate. So I expect to see some major fighting out of the Wingers in that mid 3v3, whereas on the side of the Mind Goblins, a lot of walls coming out on this composition. River's Rebuke, Odin Cage trapping members in, maybe a Phantom needing to be picked up for the Wingers. And then we get this last pick, the Susano, which I would say not akin to the Tsukiyomi. I mean, I feel like they have pretty different styles of play. Tsukiyomi feels like he's always trying to get in there. He's really being at the center point of the fight due to the fact that his ultimate brings him to the center point of the fight, whereas Susano may be playing a little bit more around the edges of the fight.
Yeah, I mean, they're both a bit different, but they do really bring that same presence in a team fight to me. Just huge team fight, really high damage as well. I think if you're really wanting to kind of stick to this team fight style, which it seems like that's what my Goblins are looking to do, I think Susano just does just fine with that. He does fairly well with it. Definitely a really good presence in the fights. So I don't mind it at all here for sure. Um, so yeah, I mean, we'll see how it does. I do think that the jungle matchup, the Naja will have kind of the better aggression in the early a bit more than the Susano. He does like to farm, maybe get some transacts, things like that. But we'll see how it ends up.
Yeah, different jungler for the side of the Wingers as well. Naja not being necessarily as early focused as the Thanatos, and a god that can be known to go hybrid, right? Naja known also for his play in the support role and once upon a time in the solo role as well. Couple different items coming in now for this jungle role, right? And so there's a few switch ups, and I'm interested to see what he's going to build. But now that we've seen all the drafts, all 5 players ready to go in for both teams, one word, who you favoring?
When I see the team fight, I just gotta go Mind Goblins again. They just have an oppressive comp for team fights.
Well, we'll see if they can close it out 2-0, or if the Wingers can bring it back and take us to a game 3. Let's jump right into the game. And the first thing I'm going to check up on is these roles. I heard a rumor before we started, and it turns out to be true. Is Poppin, Nike, and Rogue switching up their roles going into game number 2. Solo and Jungle going into Jungle and Solo in this game number 2. And considering those were the 2 roles that maybe they really had the largest deficits in game number 1, I'm interested if you think that's going to make a large difference here.
I mean, it really all comes down to comfortability. If they are definitely more comfortable, in those roles and they feel they can do their job better, I definitely think it is just nothing but a benefit for them. So we'll just kind of have to see how that goes. One interesting thing here is we do see 2 Rangers masks on the solo laners. Definitely odd. I don't think Rain does. I think it's okay, but with the Bluestone buff and both those gods being able to use it, fairly decently, a bit surprising.
Well, more poke over here in the dual lane, and as well in the mid lane. Dummy Slick trying to take the 1v1 fight, but it's made into a 1v2 as Cynic tries to get involved in this, getting some basics. Dummy Slick falling low, might be first blood and will be first blood. Rogue already turning the tides for his team as it's the Wingers picking up first blood this time.
Yeah, definitely what you want to see if you're a Wingers fan, right? You want to see a Susano get behind, and you want to see this Naja, who's probably going to be playing very heavily through the 3v3 in mid, get ahead.
Well, no dash for Mars as he chose not to get that. Looking for the last basic, will secure it, and it'll fall to the Chaos Tower. So an assist going the way of Mars, but a kill definitely favored for him right there. 2 already on the board for the Wingers.
Yeah, very good there for the Naja. If he does end up giving Raijin that kill, it's not looking quite as good, but since it is the assist, definitely good look.
Only the assist towards Mars, so not as much gold towards him, and an early, almost 1,000 gold lead favored towards the Wingers at this early stage of the game. So a nice, good start for them, and that's what we were talking about the Naja. I think he has the potential to get involved early in this game, and this player really seems to want to. Rogue, once again, coming in on the backline of this dual lane. Red Rosie, not necessarily having that Riptide available, holds on to it, gets herself out, and it looks like they will escape for the time being. Had some insider information that Rogue was on the way.
Yeah, I do like that this Naja is being very proactive with these rotations. Naja, not known for the best early game, but the early game really isn't, bad on Naja by any means, just because he's not the best early game. It doesn't mean that he's not going to have a better early game than Susano, for example. So definitely trying to get that lead going as we see another gank come out here very shortly.
They didn't know he stuck around, but now he might be able to pick up a kill. Dummy Slick picks up a kill across the map, but still in trouble is Killjoy on the Scotty, running deeper and deeper into the enemy jungle, but may have found a path out. It might not be the same thing for Red Rosie, though. Stuck in a bad spot between 3 members, and he'll get taken out on the Rogue once again, taking up that kill. 3-1 now for the jungler, and 1-1 for Dummy Slick on the other side of things. All kills towards the junglers right now.
Yeah, I mean, that was optimal in Mind Goblins, kind of defense there, is that Killjoy was in a really rough spot, but is able to switch, or slip away, excuse me, as they switch target on to Rosie, and you definitely want the support to die there for the ADC, and so that's definitely not too bad, especially it's a Scotty, right? You don't want Scotty behind. Nice there.
Especially if they're able to get that kill over in the solo lane as well. But Rogue continuing to get involved, looking for this dash, does get the beads forced out, but not in time. Mars tries to dash away, but a little bit late on that relic will cost him his life.
Yeah, and kind of going back to the mention of that role switch, I mean, Rogue is looking way more comfortable here in the jungle than he was in the solo. So, this role switch is already looking better in my eyes, but we'll have to see how it goes, moving forward here.
Yeah, we'll see if he can make that transition continue towards the later stages of the game. Just because you can get some ganks off in the early game does not mean your team fight is going to be any more coordinated. And we see one more time ganking over in this left lane, trying to catch out Red Rosie Panda, not having the ultimate available quite yet, though, and not choosing to full engage. But it's Dummy Slick now trying to get something happening, and constant pressure from both of these junglers. It feels like they're all across the map.
Yeah, I mean, I do like that Rogue is ganking a lot, but he is losing a lot of XP as well.
Yeah, once again, fight over here. Scotty, ultimate forced out, and it's going to be Rogue falling, picked up by Killjoy, and he's looking for more. Sobek low on the thing there, trying to get his way out, but won't find that well. Red Rosie Panda going to finish that one off, and Dummy Slick looking to finish off Fable, trying to find that last basic attack. Low on mana, might not be able to get the final touch, and Dummy Slick takes out Uncle Fable. 3 kills towards the way of Mind Goblins, maybe overreaching there a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it was a really good reaction from the Mind Goblins to retaliate there, and they have not only evened up, or actually, no, they have just barely evened up the gold lead there. Winger still has a slight amount but you know, it should. I mean, that's what they want to see, right? I mean, they're going for a team fight comp. They don't want to be behind, so be good for them there.
And Killjoy getting the shutdown kill on Rogue right there, definitely a huge benefit for him, but we might see yet another gank towards the solo lane. Rogue missing the ultimate onto Yuri-tastic, still forces out the beads, and still a ton of health, but now Member's trapped almost under tower right here. Yuri gonna try and turn this around. Tons of damage into Rogue. He may fall himself for it, but it's Pop and Nike not in the greatest spot to trade, and a 1v2 from Yuri-tastic putting on a show once again over in the solo lane, and might actually pick up this kill if he chooses to jump in, but holding off on it right now. Looks like he'll back up. That's the smart play.
Yeah, I mean, you know, right after you miss the nodule there, you definitely just back off. I mean, even after you miss the nodule, he did get the beads out of Odin, so it wasn't all doom and gloom. You know, but Rogue still wants to go for the kill, dives under tower there, just level 5, and, you know, kind of gets caged in and was able to fall there. So, bit over-aggression from Rogue there. He's really trying to push the lead as, ooh, we do see Dummy Slick pick up the kill onto Papa Nike there.
Yeah, Papa Nike was low, chose to stick around maybe a little bit too long over in that solo lane, and will get cleaned up for it. So ultimately 2 kills over on that side of the map, and now Mind Goblins ahead in kills where they previously were behind. Still an even gold lead, but the XP lead is quickly going in favor of the Mind Goblins. 1 level lead in solo, 1 level lead in jungle, and across the map in other roles as well. We might see half-level leads in a couple other roles, but just the pressure that was coming out early game out of Rogue just maybe a little bit too much. That's the second gank in a row that he's maybe overstepped a little bit. And while I was initially a fan of the aggression, I think it has to be well-placed aggression to get the same value.
Yeah, you really have to balance your farming and ganking very well as a jungler. You know, that's one of the things that you know, kind of separates the good junglers from the great ones, is that you know, if you gank too much, you will fall behind, as we see here out of Rogue. I mean, he was 4-1 at one point and still behind a level. So, you know, ganking is all well and great, but if you're getting behind because of it, you have to find a way to balance it out.
Yuri-tastic, still no beads for him right here, so Rogue may be seeing if he can sneak in another kill on this solo lane, but instead just sharing more farm, diluting that farm even more for his solo laner, and if he continues to do that, members of his team are just going to fall further and further behind. But it might be Uncle Fable in a little bit more trouble than he bargained for. Dummy Slick getting a little bit of damage off as Mind Goblins secure that Gold Fury Scorpion on that side of the map, and that's likely to be the next big fight, is this Gold Fury. And Mind Goblins, we talked last map about several times they were able to take objectives for free. Not only the Gold Fury, but also the Pyromancer, the Fire Giant at times, and they might be able to get this kill for free. Secured! Uncle Fable not able to get into that ultimate, but Rogue now here on the back end, looking for Thanatos, or Susano, excuse me, looking for Susano, not able to find the ultimate, though, still has that in his tool belt, but not choosing to target him right now, looking for Killjoy, and he's trapped in a corner by the dog, and now finding Dummy Slick, taking him out, avoiding the ultimate. We'll get some damage on him. We'll see if Seraph can follow up. Good pluck from him, but maybe bad pluck away from his jungler, able to finish off the kill, though. No danger right there, as Spooky Mars in some trouble in the mid lane, fighting all across the map. Steinek trying to finish this one off, but might get turned around on his head, able to finish it off. He takes the 1v1 victory.
Yeah, that was a very close, you know, really well played by both mid laners there, and that's why we see one just barely come out on top. Definitely a treat to watch.
We do see some fighting across the map, both in the left lane and in the mid lane there. Now in the solo lane, Odin able to steal that, or not steal that blue buff away, rather, and Papa Nike wants to finish this one off. No mana on Yuri, no rage on Papa Nike, both low on their bars, and a missed ability from Nike will end that one for him. I think he could have secured that maybe if he hit that one.
Yeah, might have been able to, not too sure there, but we do see Dummy Slick coming over. I mean, they should just be a free cleanup kill for him.
Trying to dash forward, will get the grab back in, damage flying forward, and will secure. That's the second time Pop and Nike stays a little bit too long. Will be cleaned up for Pop and Slick, and I mean, he's just, it felt like he was falling further and further behind, but he's actually closed up this 2-level gap that he did have, and maybe only now a half a level behind, so he'll still definitely be able to participate in these team fights.
Yeah, but, you know, it's level and a half on the Susano. Definitely gonna be rough. I mean, Susano from ahead is definitely rough to play into. Does quite a bit of damage. So I will have to say that they should watch out for that. They might want to look to get some jungle invades, something along those lines, especially with Susano just going to use trans. Maybe stop him from stacking that. Try and cut the deficit a bit.
Yeah, 5 and 2 for Dummy Slick on this pick, having a field day right now after a rough start for him, perhaps. But it's Rogue taking him into the sky. Rosie under a little bit of trouble, trying to finish off this kill, and the follow-up is a little bit not enough, maybe, for the Tiamat, but it will be finished off by the Rama. 2 kills, however, going towards Dummy Slick as he finishes up that one with the ult and the help of the Taiko drums. 3 members over here for the side of Mind Goblins, and it looks like they want to keep going. Rama in a little bit of a rough spot if he chooses to step up here, and he will. Down aware of Dummy Slick, but now aware Sobek on the backline trying to peel. Will try and hit that pluck, and not successful, but it looks like Dummy Slick, maybe the one turned around upon. Rama doesn't have the ult to finish this one off, but Seraph does have the pluck. Not able to need it, not needing it at all. That blink auto attack will finish it off, but Mind Goblins will trade the Gold Fury for that. Another, it feels like free objective for them.
Yeah, all this kind of stemming off of when they go onto Rosie there, and what does just look like a free kill onto the support ends up turning into, Rogue and Cynic dying, so that kind of opened up that aggression there for them to be able to go onto the Gold Fury. Just makes the lead, even more oppressive here. Well, it's not at an oppressive state yet, but I don't want it to turn into that just like Game 1. So, Wingers might want to figure out a way to stop this.
Yeah, I will say we are in a better spot at this point in the game than we were in Game 1, right? Only 500 or so gold separating these two teams, even after that Gold Fury, so still anybody's game, and I have to give credit to the Wingers. They've absolutely been playing these fights better, even if they haven't been balancing thus far. But Yuri-tastic now in a little bit of a rough spot. Missing the ult once again is Rogue. Haven't seen him be the best on hitting these, but Yuri should still fall. It's a question on who falls after that. 2 kills on the board for Dummy Slick, and he'll get another 2. That's a second double kill for him this game, and he is cleaning up fight after fight. 9 and 3 for him.
I mean, like I said, that's what Susano brings when he starts to get ahead a little bit. And, we do see the Aussie here on the Nasha. In my opinion, I just find it to be really odd. I mean, I just don't find that to be a very good, just like Naja item, let alone jungler item. Junglers, I think, make use of that whatsoever. So.
Yeah, it doesn't really line up for me as well. And as we're looking at the items, we get a chance to talk about maybe a bad pickup from Naja, maybe a sleeper pickup here on the Odin, going into that Boomba's Dagger. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, you get Boomba's Hammer late game on the Odin, and it feels really good. You're just having your shield up all the time. It definitely feels nice. Oh man, we just see Killjoy get shredded.
Yeah, Killjoy not feeling nice right there. Cynic able to pick that one up, and that damage felt like it came out instantly. Killjoy not having a good time, and we talked about that susceptibility to CC on that Scotty pick, so that's the price that he pays for that pick, is that Sash not able to hit. So much time now spent over in this solo lane for Rogue, and you see him being punished for it on the charts, still falling 2 levels behind.
Yeah, and I don't know, I mean, I really like, junglers getting, around the map, getting the ganks off if they can, but you just have to be able to know when to farm, when to gank, or maybe you just go into one jungle to farm it up and then look for a gank afterwards. That way you can kind of balance it out well, because it's something that a lot of junglers run into. It's definitely not just Rogue. It's a very hard thing to balance, so you just have to figure out how to do that just a bit better.
Well, as we see a lull in the game, we can take a look at the scoreboard. 1,000 gold lead now for Mind Goblins ever since those fights went in their direction. And they have a kill lead as well, but no objectives on either team, bar those tier 1 towers. One in the left lane, one in the right lane, so trading that for the time being. And I really think that's where we're going to see these teams separate, but it might be in the dual lane a little bit earlier. Uncle Fable under some pressure here, and that ultimate will finish it off. Killjoy with the solo kill.
Yep, that is one thing the Scotty brings. She does very well on the 1v1. And even with Rama being able to shred the health of Calder there, it really didn't even, make that much of a difference.
Well, Dummy Slick might not make much of a difference here unless he's able to trade it out. Gets one, looking for the second, will secure that as well with the help of Yuri. 2 kills taken down in trade for the Pyromancer, and they're looking for more. Rivers Rebuke coming out, Fars forced into the Taiko Drums as well. Cynic gets a kill, Dummy Slick taken out, and he's actually going to survive for the time being, but may not be more on the cards as 3 kills go towards the way of Mind Goblins, but the Pyromancer on the other side.
Yeah, I mean, it was good that they're able to kill, Dummy Slick there because of his lead, but it was not worth, 3 people there as well as, basically 4 people with Killjoy getting that kill over in the duo lane, and they start fire up. So, we'll see what the Sobek can do, but, just on his own, although the Rama is coming, he might be able to snipe it.
Looks like they're going to hop off the Fire Giant trying to take down Seraph, and they will be successful, but as you mentioned, Ramen now in the vicinity does have that steal potential into the air. Fire Giant a little bit low. They're not aware of him. Still shredding it. Getting low. Not enough for the steal. Mind Goblins secure that one, and it looks like no kills will come off the back of it.
Yeah, it was very close, but if he was able to maybe wait just a bit longer, I'm not too sure how long he had on the ult. Might have ran out of time, but it was definitely a good attempt for sure.
Very close on the steal there, and Mind Goblin's not aware, I think, of the Rama in the air, so maybe getting a little bit lucky there that doesn't come through for the side of the Wingers, as that definitely could have put the game in their favor, but they do have, I would say, a solid Phoenix Siege and a solid Siege defense in general. I think Sobek being able to pluck members under the tower, Cucullin with an extremely disruptive ult against grouped members during a siege. I think they have a lot of things going for them as they try to start off this siege here, but it might be the Oni Fury started up before we can get a chance to step into that.
Yeah, I definitely do like the Siege. I mean, it's not the best, but it's not bad. The only thing that really worries me is I do feel like Naja kind of struggles on defenses. You kind of have to hit that. If Naja ults and just barely misses it, they can find themselves in enemy territory a lot. So we're just going to have to keep an eye on that, see if Rogue's able to play it on the defense.
Have seen some off-mark ultimates from Rogue on this Naja, so we'll see if he's able to hit the critical ones as we move towards these grouped team fights. 5 members now on the left side of the map for Mind Goblins, looking to prioritize this Oni Fury. I think that's the right play as they're preparing to push down with their Fire Giant. But some members in the area for the Wingers not looking to give this up for free if they can avoid it. That Odin Cage won't prevent Sarah from getting in, and Tiamat on the way in as well. They'll try and steal it. They won't be successful. What they might be successful in is losing 2 of their members, Sarah and Cynic falling both, and Unfable might be next on the chopping block. His beads get forced out, but his life will not be forfeit. Doesn't even get a chance to pop the beads as Killjoy will finish off that one. Raijin finishing off another one, and Killjoy with the triple kill in this fight as well. Just a complete deicide from Mind Goblins.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just not a fan of that call at all. When Wingers started that defense, or, trying to, well, not defense, started to try and steal the Gold Fury there, both Papa Nike and Rogue were nowhere near the team fight. So you had a 3v5, not only a 3v5, but a 3v5 against a team that has Fire Giant, and, they took the fight. So, I mean, you're just never going to be able to win that fight, in my eyes. So, definitely a bit of a botch call there a little bit. I think if Wingers are wanting to have a good defense and find their way back into this game, we're going to need some more heads-up plays there.
Well, luckily, at 18 minutes into the game, the respawn timers are relatively short, so they'll get the chance to defend this mid-Phoenix if they want to, and if Mind Goblins choose to push it down, but it looks like they're just going to be satisfied with the towers and the left Phoenix for now. Just like last game, during that first Fire Giant, they take down the left Phoenix, left tower, mid tower, and it looks like they'll get both right towers now as well, so just expanding that gold lead to huge proportions is Mind Goblins.
Yep, bit of, more of the same going for these towers, which I definitely do like myself. I think it's always better to just go for all the towers, get that gold back, spend it all, and then your sieges are feeling much better. So I definitely just expect to see that. We'll probably sit back here and a siege down either mid or right lane.
Yeah, may not have time on that one, as the Fire Giant will be falling off in 30 seconds here or so, but Fire Giant, once again, coming back up on the map, and not in a good position to defend it is the Wingers, but they weren't in a good position to defend that Gold Fury, and we saw them try to defend it anyways. So during this next Fire Giant Siege is where we might see the deciding fight of this game. And I will say, Wingers still have some positive things going for them, specifically centered around this Naja pick that Rogue is on. I really think that if he can hit an ultimate on the right target, maybe catch someone out of position, a fight can turn in the favor of the Wingers very quickly.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely can, for sure. Also, another thing is that we still don't see any percent pen out of either mid laners here. Okay, Spooky does actually sell his spear there to go for the percent pen, but no percent pen for Snick, which is definitely a bit unfortunate. But we do see, you know, a decent fight with Tiamat's typically. So, you know, Tiamat somewhat decent and, you know, engagements, skirmishes. That's why she's a top pick. So maybe if they're able to play through that, we will see a bit of a better defense.
And you can see when you look at the map or when you look at the builds, just the huge build advantage that Mind Goblins has right now. I mean, all of their 5th slots essentially filled out, whereas almost none of the 5th slots for the side of the Wingers filled out. So that gold lead really coming to fruition in the form of some of these items, and that percent pen is one of them. But that might not deter them from taking this Fire Giant defense. They try to step up into the area, and they're off, trying to get into the fight immediately. Good beads out of Yuri-tastic will sell Uncle Fable's death, and Rogue to fall next. Dummy Slick has a double kill to start this one off, and Seraph trapped between 4 members of the enemy team, forced into lurking in the waters, but might not be enough and won't be enough to save his life. Seraph falls, Papa Nike falls, Dummy Slick getting a triple kill, Papa Nike not on the way, and he will get the Quadra as well. Cynic falls to finish off the deicide, and Mind Goblins looking to take this one to the bank.
Yeah, well, that's all she wrote, and you know, I mean, it's about the same thing as we saw in the game 1, where you know there might have been a bit more of a lead in game 1, which I can't say Wingers definitely did a better job here in game 2 of not giving up such a lead, and that they played it a bit better. But when it came to those crucial calls, unfortunately, they just weren't able to come through.
Yeah, it did absolutely look a little bit clinical once again for the side of Mind Goblins as we got towards those fights. But I will say we saw some positive things in the early game from the side of the Wingers. I mean, this is only week 3, right? They still have absolutely tons of time to be able to take this information that they've now learned from these games and really try and turn it around in some of the upcoming matches. And I think Rogue personally looked, despite his faults and despite everybody's faults, I think their look in game 2, particularly in the jungle and solo side, looked a little bit better than it did in game 1.
Yeah, it definitely did. I think that the switch was definitely, it's up to them. They could, kind of go back and see how they feel over that. But switch definitely something interesting in competitive play. So I'd expect them to maybe figure that out later on.
Well, definitely a lot of directions to go for both these teams, but that'll do it for us for right now. 2-0 in the favor of Mind Goblins, and I still want to get a chance to talk to one of their players, so join us after this break. We'll have an interview with a member of Mind Goblins.